Hey guys, Stay Patient here with my full Platinum Trophy guide for NERO, or Nothing Ever Remains Obscure. This is another super easy Platinum that I managed to get through in an hour and a half during this particular run. All you really need to do is solve all the puzzles in the game, some of which are optional I believe, and collect all the mementos. If required, you can use Chapter Select to go back and grab anything you missed, although you shouldn't need to if you're following the guide. There is, however, one other very odd trophy that you need to be prepared for, as it can only be earned on a Thursday. You can manually change the date on your console to make the game think it's a Thursday, which I'll show you how to do before we start. I used a very helpful text to walk through on trueachievements.com to assist me in making this guide, so credit to Ackter for that, and I've linked his walkthrough in the description for those who prefer following written instructions. On the subject of giving credit where it's due, I need to apologise for forgetting to give vocal credit to themindisacity during my Everybody's Gone to the Rapture guide. I did make use of her text walkthrough as a reminder and checklist after it had been so long since I originally played the game, so credit to her for that. Incidentally, she also authored the trophy guide for NERO, so thanks for all the hard work she puts in on PlayStationTrophies.org. I'll link her guide in the description as well for anyone who would rather work things out for themselves while following a basic roadmap. Okay guys, there's one thing I forgot to mention about the N.E.R.O Thursday trophy, which has to be earned on a Thursday. If you're playing well connected to the internet, then it needs to be Thursday based on Universal Standard Time. So that's UTC for short. Now what that means is that if you live in a country like Australia, where your time difference is vastly different to UTC, then it might be Thursday for you, but it might not be based on Universal Time. So what I recommend is that no matter what day you're playing on, you change the date manually on your PS4. So whether it's a Thursday or not, I recommend going to your settings in the cross-media bar and then go down to network, and we can untick the connect to the internet box, and what that's going to mean is that any potential time differences aren't going to be an issue here. So then we can back out and go down to the date and time settings further down near the bottom. And the top option, date and time settings, will allow us to set the date manually. So what you want to do is put in a day that was a Thursday that's already been and gone. So I'm going to set it to the 23rd of March. And then you also want to make sure that you give yourself enough time to be able to earn the trophy, which takes place during the third chapter in the game. Of course, it's only sort of an hour or two long, this game, so you should have plenty of time. But if you set the the time to nice and early, maybe early morning, then you'll have plenty of time to earn that trophy before it ticks over to the Friday. Now I will remind you that if you play some of this game and then leave it to another day, and you haven't earned the N.E.R.O Thursday trophy yet, then you will need to go through and change these settings again so that it is Thursday when you earn the trophy. So confirm that, come back out, and then we can start up the game. Okay, so once we load into the main menu here, I like to go across to the options, and we're going to go to the video settings and turn the gamma correction all the way up, because it's a very dark game and it's difficult to see things otherwise. We can also turn the aim sensitivity up, because that's rather slow. Then we can start the new game, which is going to ask us if we want to overwrite our existing progress, which is a bit odd because we don't have any existing progress. But this is going to load us into chapter 1, which is the Crystal Caves, and you'll notice we're moving quite slowly. But if you hold the R1 button, you speed up, just like that. So you want to be using that throughout most of the playthrough. The first collectible you'll have seen there is in this first building on the right at the beginning of the game. And these are the things that we're going to be picking up and collecting. They're quite easy to spot, really. And although I haven't sped up a lot of the footage in this game, I have sped up the long walking section. So if you make your way to this stream here, just head through the village and then follow the stream up to the left. And eventually we're going to come across a large door on the left hand side. It's not a typical door, but that's what it is nonetheless. If you get close to it, it's going to trigger a cutscene, which is absolutely fine. Once this cutscene's over, we want to look to the right before tackling that puzzle. And in the back corner, just behind these 3 trees here that are kind of sprouting out from the same spot, is the second of our mementos. And there are 12 of these mementos in each chapter, and they're going to slowly piece together a picture there. So we'll have 4 pictures by the end of the 4 chapters. Now if we make our way towards the buttons in front of the door, this is very, very simple. You literally need to press them so that both of these sort of sections of this upwards arrow type image are both facing upwards. You know, they're all like linked up at the top. So this one you need to press twice because it turns a quarter of a circle each time. Nice and easy. And once that's done, we're going to have a cutscene. Now, I'm not going to be skipping all of these shorter cutscenes. I am going to be removing the footage of the long cutscenes between chapters, but all of these I'm going to leave in just to give me a chance to catch up with myself, and so that you guys don't get lost if I'm speeding through too quickly. But if you head through the door, you'll eventually come to a waterfall on the left-hand side. Now, if you look to the right here, you'll notice our next collectible just between these two rocks. Nice and easy. None of them are particularly well hidden, but it is nice to know where they are going in. Now, if we make our way back to the path, which I think we need to go under the tree to be able to reach, then we can carry on following this stream. Once again, I'm going to speed up these long walks. And I mean, this is one of those games that does feel longer than it is. It only takes about an hour and a half, really. But eventually the stream's going to drop off into this big hole, so you need to climb out of it and then head around to the right, follow the path here. You'll notice these giant caterpillars dotted around the level. They're a bit odd. But if you keep carrying on, is that a phrase? Keep walking and you'll get to this message floating in the air. If you turn to the right and follow the stream, it kind of forks off. Part of the stream goes right, part goes left. Follow it up to the right first, and at the very top, at the dead end there, is another memento. And now we can head back to where this message was. And these messages, these bits of text are quite interesting to read. They sort of flesh out the story. But directly behind it is a pathway in the center. If you look into the middle, you notice all the crystals up on the ceiling. And this pathway with all these stalagmites poking out. I think they're stalagmites or maybe stalactites. I forget which one's the upward spikes and which ones are the downwards ones. But when we get to the top, we're going to get our ability. And this ability involves being able to throw projectiles. They're like energy balls. And we'll see a cutscene here which displays something that we're going to need to hit with one of those energy balls. You'll see a door here, and to the left of it is this pillar. And these pillars are dotted all through the game. We're going to be using them. You basically need to throw the ball into the little hole at the top of the pillar. So we're going to head back down the path and carry on round to the right. And you'll see sort of a pile of rocks here that looks like they're blocking your way, but they're actually not. You can climb over them. So hop over here and you'll see the door in front of us and the pillar to the left. Now the pillar has a yellow light shining out of it. Basically this game is all about turning yellow things blue. So if you hold L2, it's going to bring up your hand, and then once you've got it in place, once you're happy with your aim, you can press R2 to throw the projectile, and you'll notice there that it turns the pillar blue, and that opens the door. Now those energy balls do kind of dip, you know, as they travel they do dip, so the further away you are, the higher you have to aim for them to be on target. But once you head through the door, we're going to carry on around to the left, just following the path here. And eventually, I'm trying to remember where we are at this point, we'll come across another waterfall actually, just on the left there, similar to the previous one. And there's going to be yet another collectible to the right of this waterfall as well. It's just behind this smaller rock. There's a large rock that we walked past a moment ago, but just past the waterfall is another small rock on the right, and this is where we'll find our next memento. Now if we follow the pathway again, we're going to speed this up once more because the movement speed is rather slow even using R1, but we'll come to a fork in the road. We need to follow the right hand fork, and in this room there's going to be 3 pillars we need to activate. The first one is just on the left by this message, or by this bit of text. I don't know what you call it really when letters are floating in midair. But just high up above that is our next one. You'll notice that I'm aiming just above the circle in the pillar, which is the target that you're aiming for. And obviously, like I said before, the further away you are, the more you need to compensate for that. I guess you could call it bullet drop, even though it's not a bullet. Anyway, it's worth hanging around to see, if it has worked. Basically, if you miss, it's going to cause like a weird type of explosion, which is totally fine. It doesn't cause any issues. It's just a visual effect that lets you know that you did miss, and eventually we will miss one during this run, and I'll be able to show you. I could have probably shown you right at the start just so that you had a point of reference and understood what it meant. But if it doesn't turn blue and you see like a weird, I don't know, it's not really even an explosion, it's just like a ripple in the air. But if you see that, it just means you missed, so you need to try and hit it again. But once you've done all three, this large pillar with the statue on top is going to drop down. And then we can head back the way we came. Now there is a pathway to the right, which you can take, I think, and I believe that leads to the same area. We're going to head to the left here, which is the pathway that we used to enter that area in the first place. And once you get to these messages again, you can take the other pathway to the left and head on through. Now we're going to be walking over a bridge, and then you'll come across some stairs. So the stairs leading up there just in front of us, you'll notice them. We need to head under the stairs at the far back. So just walk all the way back to the back wall here, and just underneath that walkway above us where the stairs are is our next collectible. So now we can head up the stairs themselves, and we're going to have a bit of a cutscene here. This is going to show us another interactable type of object, which is a sort of pressure pad on the floor. We're going to be using lots of these during our playthrough. So if we head all the way up to the top here, apologies for the noise of the motorbike going by. I live right near a main road, so it's quite noisy here. Anyway, we can stand on this pressure pad, and that's going to open up the eye of this statue, this big head that's kind of buried into the wall. Now I think, do I hit it? I'm trying to remember if I miss here. No, I did hit it. You'll notice I had to aim quite high. I was expecting to miss that one. It's been a few days since I recorded this, so I forget when it was that I missed the first one. I kind of want you to see what it looks like, just so that you're not confused when it happens for the first time. Anyway, once we've hit that pillar, or hit the little circle in the pillar and turned it blue, we can head down the stairs and towards the head itself. And once we get closer to it, there's going to be an entranceway on the right hand side, a cave we can go through, and this is going to take us to our next puzzle. Although it's not really a puzzle, it's just a area of interaction. Once you enter this area though, you do want to look to the left, and you'll notice a monkey here. Behind the monkey is a rock that's kind of connected to the wall, and behind this rock is our next collectible. So that was just giving you a reference point to be able to figure out where this is. Now from here we are going to head into the middle, and you'll notice a pillar that's poking out. The other two are kind of hidden underground, so we want to hit this first pillar. Hit it right in the eye there, turn it blue. Now we can go around to the other side, and we're going to use a button to make one of the other two pillars appear. We're just going to do that for all three of them. So hit the button once, and it's going to bring up the second pillar, which we can throw a projectile into, and then just rinse and repeat for the third one. Now this second one pops up on the left hand side from where we're standing. So you can walk around here and activate this one. Now we can do the same, and the third one's going to pop up on the right hand side. Now this is one of those games that's quite hard hitting really. If you focus on the story and understand what's going on, it's quite a serious subject matter. Obviously we're just flying through for the trophies at this point. But, oh, there's the first one I missed. Okay, so that's what happens. It's like a weird kind of Minority Report. Was that the movie? Minority Report? Yeah, I'm drawing a blank now. But that had weird sort of air-based weapons, didn't it? Sent like shockwaves. Kind of reminded me of that somehow. Anyway, that's going to open a door behind all these monkeys. And that's the rock there with the collectible behind it that we grabbed a moment ago. So if we make our way through here, I think we're about to meet our companion for the first time. So keep walking through. This is quite a long walk, this one. But we're going to head down a slope. And yes, I believe this is where we pick up our companion that we're going to be using to be able to solve puzzles. Oh no, we're not quite there yet. We get to this village first of all. And as you're making your way through the village, the road will swing around to the right here. And then there's a building on the left with this this section of text on it. If we walk around this like veranda, because it's sort of fenced off, you can't enter it from any direction, just walk around to the door and walk inside and you'll be able to grab the next collectible. Now we can head back and just off these steps here and keep going. Now we're going to be finding our companion. So here he is, he kind of spawns under this big mushroom. I'm not going to spoil anything for you because these characters are quite key. I mean, there's no real... You know, it's not like there's some big reveal at the end of the game or anything like that. It's all rather symbolic, you know? So you only really understand what's going on if you do read all the text and you listen to all the cutscenes and everything. You can't skip the cutscenes anyway. I've deleted the ones between each chapter because they're rather long. You know, I've taken them out of the footage, but I've left all these in because they are interesting if you do focus on them. I know most of you won't be. You'll be just flying through for the trophies, which is absolutely fine. But once the companion joins us, if we turn to the right, we can walk up towards this big door in the distance. And you'll notice the prompt on screen, the L1 prompt. That's just explaining that you use the L1 button to command your companion. And we're going to show you how to use it now. Once you get to the door, you can hold down L1 and it will bring up like an icon. And then once you've got the icon in position, you can let go of L1 and it's going to send your companion to where you want him to be. Now you can stand on that first pressure pad yourself and send him through here, or you can do it the way I did. It's a bit easier to send him to the first one because you're stood right next to it. If you stand on the first one and then kind of try and send him to the second one, you're a bit further away and it's a bit harder to be accurate with the cursor. But the same principle with the second door, he stands on one, you stand on the other. And you may have noticed that if the icon is red, it means that you're stood too close to it, so he can't stand there because you're already kind of occupying that space. So if that happens, just kind of stand back a bit out of the way. Now what we're going to do is, let's try and remember where we are. I believe... Yes, we're coming to kind of another puzzle. Once you get to these stairs here, you want to send your companion to stand on the pressure pad. And then we're going to go down the stairs. You'll notice that those 3 pillars just dropped in front of him because he stood on the pad. But before we go to them, we're going to turn around to the left at the bottom of the stairs and go into the little alcove here. And that's going to be our next memento. And then we can go and activate the 3 sort of buttons on the floor that are now accessible. Just walk across all 3 of them. That's all we need to do. There we go. We're not going to need to worry about the other 6 or 9 or however many there are on the floor. It's just those ones that are activated by our companion who stands on the pressure pad. Right, now we're going to run through, and I think this is one of the longest walks in the game. Just keep following the path across the bridge here, through the cave, and obviously we're speeding this up quite a bit at this point. I think this is triple speed. Eventually you'll come to this tree on the left-hand side, this giant tree. Now the next collectible is on the right, just past these rocks, these kind of square rocks, almost like large bricks. So just keep your eye out on the right hand side as you're walking up the path. There's not really any major landmarks there to explain where it is, so just keep looking to the right and eventually you'll see it there past all the bricks and rocks and things. Now if you carry on, you'll notice the bridge that we're eventually going to go across, but if you turn to the right from there, we do have a bit of a puzzle. Now these lights are similar to the ones on the pillars, so we're going to be throwing our projectiles into one of them. The idea is that when we throw it in, it's going to light up any adjacent lights, you know, any that are connected to it. You'll notice on this second one that we have 2 rows and there's nothing connecting these 2 rows. So when we throw it into the top row, it's going to light all of those up, but then we need to throw again into the bottom row. And then with the third one here, if we throw one into the center circle on the bottom half, that's going to light up that one and all of the ones that are connected to it in a straight line. But because the ones at the top aren't connected by a straight line, with those bottom ones, we do need to activate those as well. I hope it makes sense. It doesn't really matter. You can just copy what I'm doing on screen. But like for instance here, if we throw it into a corner, it's going to light up the top row and the left-hand row. But then if we throw the opposite corner as well, that's going to finish off the last few. So that's one of our puzzles there that I think is optional. A lot of the puzzles in this game you don't need to complete, you can just carry on walking through. But for the trophies, we do need to finish all of them basically. Now that's pretty much the first... it's very nearly the first chapter finished off. But we do have one other little door to get through and one last collectible, which is going to pop another trophy. I think I'm... Yeah, no, sorry. I'm reading my notes here, guys. I'm trying to remember this. It's very difficult doing a guide all in one sitting, trying to remember every single collectible, but I do have some notes here. And I was forgetting, we do actually have 2 collectibles. So if you keep walking down this route until you get to this building, there is an upstairs kind of balcony, and this has our second to last collectible. So there are 2 more to go, including that one. You'll know you're in the right place because there's paintings everywhere. It's quite obvious, There's only one area that looks like this. Anyway, we're going to carry on through and I'm going to try and stay up to date. If we keep following the pathway here, we're going to walk through this sort of room, this kind of library, which seems to be a weird occurrence built into the cave. Everything's all a bit obscure here. Fits in nicely with the name of the game. But once we get to this area with all the water, we're going to head around to the right and you'll see the puzzle that we need to solve to be able to get through the door. But before we do that, head to the far back of the area on the right hand side, and there's this big kind of cinder block type thing that's fallen down. And behind that is our final collectible, and that should pop the trophy for finding all of them in this particular chapter. So that's pretty much 1 down and 3 to go. Before we actually finish the chapter though, we're going to need to solve this puzzle. Now, each of these buttons, they're all different styles of buttons, but each one stops a different circle on that diagram. And so I just stood on the middle one to check which one that controlled, and that does control the center circle. So what you need to do is, so that you are free to be able to press the other 2 buttons or activate them, you want to wait until the circle is just about to hit the middle. You see that little section at the top of the circle? Wait until the dot, or whatever you want to call it, is about to hit that. Now this button here actually controls the, I think, is it the top one? No, it's the bottom one, if that makes sense. It's the one in the center circle. So you'll see what happens. I'm actually pressing these in the wrong order. So I'll press it now and it stops the bottom of the 3, but then it carries on moving. So you do need to leave that right hand button to last, because as long as your guy sat on the middle one, and as long as you throw a orb into this pillar when the outside dot or outside circle is in position, or just before it reaches there, you'll notice that I threw it just as it was about to enter the section at the top. And now we can do this third one. Once that's in position, just press the button. That's going to trigger the door to open. So I didn't do a very good job of explaining that vocally, but hopefully along with the actual on-screen representation of me solving it, it should make sense. It's a very, very simple puzzle, but it's just difficult to explain because all the dots keep moving. So calling one the top one and one the bottom one probably wasn't the best approach. But hopefully you understood what I meant. Anyway, we can make our way through, open this door, and this is basically the end of chapter 1. And we're going to be entering a room like this at the end of each chapter. But once we get control back, we're going to be exiting out the door and the environment's going to change. So there's going to be a cutscene here, which I have edited out. But this is the forest that we're moving on to. So, what we need to do is look out on the left hand side for this first message right at the start and walk through it. And as you walk through it, you'll probably notice the collectible floating behind this tree here. That message started with the words "in a remote area," just in case you're struggling to find it. Maybe you walked past it and you're trying to figure out which one it was. Anyway, we can head back to the path, the main path, and there's going to be a fork in the road. We want to head to the left first of all. Now at the top of this hill is going to be a tyre, and we just need to throw one of our projectiles through the tyre. You don't need to be any particular distance away, I don't think. You'll notice I edited out a couple of my throws because I did miss once or twice. And you'll notice the big kind of weird explosion type thing again. That doesn't mean you missed. As long as the cutscene triggers, it means you did it successfully. Right, now we can turn around and head back down the road, and we're going to take the right-hand fork this time. So just at the bottom here, where all the messages are, just turn around to the left and carry on up this other fork. Now we're going to eventually come across a really big tree with kind of blue and yellow veins on it. It's quite a long walk here, but there's the tree, you'll notice kind of twisting together. Now before we deal with this tree, we're going to look out to the left-hand side and basically just walk into the kind of bushes and trees and the woodland here, walk out, and there is a collectible here that's quite hard to see. I was looking around for it at this point, but it's actually much further back, and it's near this mushroom. You may notice it on screen now. It's just come into view, but if you head to almost to the far back of this area, there'll be a bunch of mushrooms, and the collectible is just sat in front of them there. Okay, now we can head back to the tree, and you'll have noticed all those veins. Like I said, some are yellow, some are blue, and in the nature of this game, we are going to be turning all the yellow bits blue with our projectile. In fact, we're not using our projectile, we're using the switches. So that one there is already blue, which means you don't need to press that button. But the next one is yellow, so we press this one to turn it blue. There you go. And we're basically just making our way all the way around the tree, pressing any buttons that are next to a yellow vein. And once all of them are blue, a pillar will appear in the middle of the tree itself. You can probably notice the yellow light shining out from the top of the pillar, but we can't actually see the pillar itself until we've finished dealing with all this. Got caught up with one of the buttons there. There we go. I think that's our last one. So now you'll notice the pillar has risen up out of the ground, and we can throw a projectile into it, and that's going to open the next door. It's also going to sprout the tree, create all the blossom there. And the door is just on the other side of where we are at the moment, obviously depending on what order you did the buttons in, but you should be able to find it. We're going to walk around the tree to reach it. It's got the writing just above it there. So we can head on through, and we're going to make our way into this kind of town area. But as you turn the corner, you'll notice some stairs on the left hand side. That's going to lead us to the next collectible, which is just in the grass here. Now if we come down these stairs and head opposite onto that circular platform, there's another puzzle. Now the way this one works is that we need to line up all of the pressure pads so that they're all kind of in a straight line. Now when you stand on one of these, all of the other circles are going to move except for the one that you're stood on, and they're going to move, I think, a full quarter of the way around. So you don't need to hold them down and jump off at the right time. They will keep moving until they kind of lock in place. But if you just simply move one first and line that up with the one that you're stood on, then stand on one of the ones that isn't in line yet, and that will allow, let's have a look here, that will allow the two that are already together to keep moving. And if you just stay on the button until those two are lined up with the one that you're currently stood on, and just keep doing that in order basically. So to begin with, you can stand on whichever one you like and get a second one lined up with it. and then you can stand on one of the, the third or fourth one and get the two lined up with that one, and then you can finally stand on whichever one isn't in place yet, just to get the others to line up with that. I hope that makes sense. It's quite simple, really. There we go. So after this cutscene, we're going to make our way sort of back to the main path. We're actually heading for that waterfall that's on screen at the moment, so I think you can take the grassy section if you want to. I think we could head straight on from where we're stood. But just so we don't get lost in all the grass and plants and stuff, we're going to head back to the main path. And then you'll notice these archways on the right-hand side, which basically take us back to the location we were already in, but just a bit further up. And if we follow the river, just head towards the waterfall, there's going to be another collectible just to the left of it. Now, I probably should have sped this bit up. It's quite a long walk. But we'll eventually reach it. There we go. Just next to the tree. Then we're going to turn around and head back to the village and carry on through the main road up through the centre. Now we're going to be looking out, if we turn right here when we go through the pillars, we're going to be looking out for a message that says the villagers built elaborate stone bridges or something like that. It's actually going to be quite a long way up, so if we carry on through these archways, past these buildings, and I think it's this one here, as the pathway turns around to the right, on the left hand side there, you'll notice the villagers built an elaborate stone bridge. So if we walk under that section of text, just around to the right, you'll notice we're behind one of the large buildings here. There is a collectible just behind the tree. Now we can head back to the main path and carry on up, and we're going to come across a bridge eventually. In fact, it's just here. You can see the light shining up where the pillar is that we need to hit, but to be able to get access to that pillar, we need our partner to stand on this pressure pad in front of the bridge. So once he's on there, it's going to raise it up a bit, and that means we can move to the right so that we can see past that fence that's blocking the bridge. And we need to aim pretty high from here, because it's going to dip down and hopefully land in the little circle. There we go. So that's going to open up the bridge for us, so we can cross that, and we'll have another puzzle waiting for us. Okay. Sorry if I go quiet occasionally, I like to get my breath. I do have breathing issues sometimes. Stamina issues, I guess. Anyway, cross the bridge and make your way through this section of the village. You'll notice some clocks dotted around in there related to the puzzle. I'm just going to show you what you need to do to complete the puzzle, but it's here on the left-hand side. You'll see loads of pillars. It's quite obvious because they're all shining lights into the sky, and this is like a clock face. But to solve this one, we need to basically throw a projectile through number 4, which is IV, the one that we're looking at now, and also number 6, which is obviously 2 to the right. That's VI. Most of you probably understand Roman numerals, but just in case you don't, 4 and 6, that's IV and VI. Now once we've done that, and once we've seen the cutscene here, there is going to be a collectible very nearby. We're going to walk through numbers 7 and 8, so VII and VIII. You'll notice them, when we get back to gameplay here. So just look to the right a bit. If you can't figure out the numbers, it's basically just heading towards these broken down rocks, these kind of stone walls here. So if you head around to the left, behind this wall, which is kind of the remains of an old pipe, it looks like, or some kind of tunnel, that's going to house our next collectible. And I think that's halfway through the collectibles in this particular chapter. Now we can head back to the main road. You'll notice all these archways, these wooden arches, and we're actually, although we're looking to the right, we're going to be heading to the left here. So back to the road and then head left. And this next collectible is one that I struggled to find in the past. But if you look out to the left-hand side as you get to the bottom of this hill, look over to the left and you'll probably see the collectible in the far distance. Now, we're at the point where there's a junction where you can go straight on to a puzzle down there, which we're going to solve in a moment, or you can head right, following the main path, which kind of turns around to the right there. So that should give you your bearings. If you head back to the left-hand side of the original path we were on, we can kind of walk out to the far end, and the collectible is sat on a kind of, I guess, a bit of a mound here. There we go. Now we can make our way to the puzzle I mentioned a moment ago. We can sort of cut across the grass. We don't have to go back to the path necessarily, but you'll see it's kind of out on the water there. Now this puzzle I didn't mess up, but it took me longer than it should have done. It's not that it's difficult, it's just a bit fiddly, and I'm a bit colourblind, so I found it quite tough. But basically, when you stand on any of these pads, they're all going to appear. They're all yellow or blue. We need to turn all the yellow ones blue by walking over them. Now, I've sped this up because I did faff about a lot. If you walk over a blue one that's already blue, you need to then step back onto it and turn it blue again, because you can't dodge them unless you head into the inner circle. You know, you can't walk past them without triggering them. So if one is already blue, you'll walk over it and turn it yellow. Then you need to just take a step back, turn it blue again, and then carry on going without accidentally doubling up on it. Now, when I did it, there was still one that was yellow, apparently. I'm even watching this now. I'm watching the preview of the recording, and some of them I literally can't tell if they're yellow or blue. It's really annoying. But I went through all of them, and one was obviously still yellow, which was annoying because it meant I had to walk around the outside again and return all these ones blue that I accidentally triggered. But you can make your way into this inner circle, and I used this to kind of walk around and find the one that was the wrong colour and eventually turn it blue. So guys, you'll probably find that a lot easier than me. Just remember that when you stand on a button, it changes its colour, and they all need to be blue. It's super easy. It just becomes a bit trickier when you're colourblind. Pardon me. Anyway, once we've done that, finally, that took me entirely too long. We're going to head back up to the pathway. And at the junction, we're going to turn left. This is the direction that the main path takes, and we're going to be heading through all these kind of wooden arches again. They kind of pretty much line the main route through the level. Eventually, though, we'll come across a giant tombstone on the right-hand side. You'll see it there. And we're going to head behind it to begin with. There's going to be a collectible just behind it here. And then we're going to head around to the front, and there's going to be a puzzle on the front of it. There's basically going to be a picture on the tombstone itself, but the picture is a bit muddled up. Some of the sections of the picture have been kind of spun around. So when you press these buttons, you'll notice that it spins one of these sections, the top right one there. Now, this one needs spinning twice, but what you can do to speed this up is kind of make your way across all 4 buttons, press them all once so that they're all moving at the same time, which I think is what I do now. So because they're all out of place, we're going to press them all once, and some of them will need to be pressed a second time, maybe a third time, but by the time you press them all, you'll be able to tell. So this second one controls the top left image, or section of the image, and the third one is already in place because that's the face, and then the fourth one is the bottom one. So it's very, very simple. None of the puzzles in this game are tricky at all. There are 1 or 2 that take a little bit of thought, but it's really very basic. It's all about the story, to be honest. It's quite an odd style of gameplay for the story that's being told. It doesn't really fit very well, which is why the game didn't review especially well. Anyway, once we've done that, we can head down the pathway to the left of this tombstone. And as we head through this pillar here, or this archway, just look out to the right. And there's all these rocks with like a little valley heading between them. And just before that pathway is another collectible. Then what we're going to do is head through this kind of passage. And we'll find another puzzle here. What we want to do is press the button on the right hand side 4 times. That's going to keep moving. The things in the middle are going to keep swiveling round. Press that 4 times. I sped that up, so it'll take you a bit longer. Then that's going to line all of these up. So when you're looking at the main section of all these lights, you want to throw an orb into the bottom left one. and then throw another one into the top right. And that's going to, I mean, it doesn't have to be those two, but the bottom left one kind of triggers all the ones along the bottom row, as well as the ones in that column. And then throwing one into the second column, you can pretty much throw it into any section of that column. It's going to just fill in the rest of the lights that were still yellow. There's lots of different ways of solving these puzzles. They don't have to be done in any specific fashion. Now we're going to head up, back through the passageway that we used to find that puzzle, and back to the tombstone again. So follow the path, and this time we're going to head to the right from the tombstone, down the pathway that's literally right in front of it. And I'm trying to remember where this takes us now. Ah yes, we've got another puzzle here. Now, what you want to do on this sort of triangle, this section of circles, or floor pads, is stand on the bottom left one. Now I accidentally walked across it twice, so they've turned back to yellow again. So when you walk over them, just walk using R1 to walk quickly. And then, once they're lit up, we are going to stand on the very top one of the triangle. Now you're going to stand on the one that's between the two that we just stood on. So as you enter the area, it's going to be the left-hand side middle one on the middle row. And then finally the opposite corner, the corner that we haven't yet stood on. So as you enter the area, it's the bottom left one, then the top one, then the middle left one, then the bottom right one. Pretty easy. You can watch that back again if you need to, but it's pretty straightforward. That's going to open up the way through this log to be able to continue on with the level. Now we want to follow the fence on the left-hand side. This is going to lead to a tree, which also has another collectible at its base. There we go. Now we can head up towards this big structure here, this big stone structure, and you'll see a bunch of what I like to call green ring wraiths. These guys are sort of guarding this door, but we need to basically open the door by throwing... They're not guarding it, sorry, I don't know, I forget how they fit in with the story, to be honest. They're rather symbolic, more than anything. But if we trigger the two pillars, there's one on each side of the gate or the door or whatever you call that, then we're going to follow these guys. And I was kind of racing them. I was seeing if I could beat them to the next section. But it's probably best to hang back and just see where they go, because they do turn up to the left here. So you need to head up to the left, up this pathway. And then eventually I do stop for a minute just to let them pass, because we're not going to take that turning to the right, but we are going to take one in a moment. This turning here. Now this one says a statue representing a goddess was placed beneath the open mausoleum. Now turn to the right where this particular piece of text is, and there's going to be a building. We want to grab the collectible that's just in the kind of the doorway. I forget what you call this. Veranda, is it? I don't know. Anyway, that's the second to last collectible in the forest. And then the next one is going to be directly opposite. There's another line of text or group of text here. So if you literally walk opposite, and rather than turning to the right, which is where the green guys went, we're going to go straight on. That one says strange to say something or other. Anyway, in this broken down, dilapidated building is our final collectible of this section. There we go. So now we can follow the green guys to the left, and you'll find them up here. This is going to trigger a cutscene. And once the cutscene is over, we're going to just walk up the steps there to finish off the second chapter. Now the third chapter is a similar length, but the fourth one is a lot quicker. So we're not really that far from the end of the game, to be honest. Well, when I say not that far, I'm looking at my, the bar of my timeline. We're about 2/3 of the way through, maybe. So if we make our way up the stairs here and stand on the pressure pad, that's going to trigger the cutscene, which I'm going to edit out because it takes a couple of minutes. I think there was a cutscene there. Anyway, if we turn around, this is going to be a new area, even though it looks similar. If we head back down the stairs, this is the hospital chapter. So at the bottom of the stairs, if you turn to the right, the first collectible is right at the beginning here. It's just on top of that kind of stump, the tree stump. Now we can head into this this structure, this group of buildings. This is the hospital. So if we head into the main door here, we're looking for the archives. Now you'll notice a bunch of signs dotted around. The archives are directed to the right. This is the archive room here if you make your way to the right at the first junction. Now what we need to do is line up the holes in these bookcases, but they also need to be lined up with a hole in the wall. Now I remembered that you needed this first bookcase on the left to be all the way to the far end. Now when I did this, I thought it had gone as far as it could go, so I carried on and I lined up all the other ones, but it actually can go one step further, so it needs to be literally right at the end. Because I got all these lined up, it took me a while. I do apologise for not editing this out, but I just wanted to show you how it works. But these two are now lined up, but they're not actually in the right location. They need to be right down the far end. So just remember that the one on the left, send it down as far as it will go. If you press it again, it will start coming back, so don't worry too much about that. Obviously, you can send it up and back as many times as you need to. But when you think it's all the way down the end, it probably isn't, because there's still a little bit of space that it can move down. So you'll see here that I think all of the walls, all of the bookcases, sorry, crumbs. Man, I really should have edited this out. I do apologise. But yeah, you can see now that they're lined up, but they're not lined up with the hole in the wall. At this point, I was like, crap. But you'll see here that there is another gap, another bit of a gap that we can send this bookcase down. So press it once more, and there we go. It's right down the end. So I'm going to press them all once more, and thankfully they're all going in the right direction by this point, and they are now in the right slots. Now, I'll show you here that we do throw a projectile through these holes. That's why we needed to line them up, so that we throw it into the pillar that's in the other room. And then I think I take a break just to show you. Let's have a look. This is going to open a door, by the way, which we do need to head into in a moment. And I think I just take a look at where this bookcase is. Yeah, there you go. So that's how it should look. It shouldn't take you as long if you know that, because you can push the bookcase all the way down to the end and then simply line the other ones up with it. But on our way out of the room, you do want to enter the now open door and pick up this collectible. This is where the pillar was. Right, now we're going to leave this room, and if we take a look at the signs on the wall again, there's one that points towards the restaurant. So if we follow that one, and we're going to, once we get into this big hallway, we're going to walk right across to the other side, which is the restaurant right here. You'll see the sign on the wall there. Now if you turn left in the restaurant, there is a collectible, and this is the room where we're going to be getting the Thursday trophy. So by now, you know, it should definitely be Thursday. You should have changed your time at the beginning of the run through. There are also these 3 rings in the room. You'll notice 2 on the table and 1 that's swinging back and forth. So you do need to try and time it. Now, I edited out a few attempts there. But if you stand all the way back against the wall, it's a bit easier. And just keep trying it, just adjust it. You know, if you throw it when... I found that if you throw it when the swinging ring has just passed the center, that means by the time your orb reaches it, it will have swung all the way to one side and then back again. Now, what you need to do, you'll notice on the walls are these blackboards with N.E.R.O only on Thursday lit up on the bottom, and that's because it's a Thursday. I think it only lights up if it is a Thursday when you're playing. And at the other far end of the room is another blackboard with the food in front of it. So what you're going to do is you're going to eat that N.E.R.O, and that's going to give you N.E.R.O Thursday. Now, this seems to happen for a lot of people. Your game will get stuck here in this animation where it's just constantly picking up the N.E.R.O, and you can't carry on. So what I did originally was I quit out to the main menu, but then my game proceeded to crash. It completely crashed. I'm not going to show all that, I don't think. I think I edited it out. Basically, once I confirmed this, I got back to the main menu and it all crashed, so I had to load the game back up again and just carry on from the last save. Now what I did at this point is double check to see if we needed to redo anything. Obviously we've already got the N.E.R.O Thursday trophy, but I just double checked to see if the collectible was gone, which it is, And I also threw an orb through these rings once more just to double check. And I can confirm to you that you don't need to throw it again. If your game did crash, as long as you've already done these rings, it will have auto-saved. So once you pick up Nocky Thursday, I can show you a cool technique here that I used. I kind of ran after the orb just to make sure that it definitely did go through all 3 rings. And you'll notice that the cutscene didn't trigger, so it's fine. Anyway, once you leave the restaurant, you can head into the room on the left-hand side through the doors here, and there are pressure pads on the floor. What you want to do to solve this puzzle is literally walk across each pressure pad in order, around in a circle. It doesn't matter if you're going clockwise or anti-clockwise. This is kind of similar to a puzzle in one of the Tomb Raider games, which seemed really tough, but then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try pulling these levers in order, and I did it and it just worked. It's just how the pattern kind of plays out. Each pressure pad lights up itself and the ones either side of it. So you're kind of constantly lighting them up and turning them off again. And anyway, that's how the puzzle can be solved. What we need to do here is head through the door that has red flashing lights, almost like a siren at the far end, like an alarm going off. You'll see it there. And I think it's opposite the door that we used to enter this area. So we're going to head through this door, but then turn to the left and then turn to the right at the end here. And on the right hand side will be the pharmacy, and there's going to be a collectible in the pharmacy just behind this kind of screen door type deal. There we go. Now if we exit this room and head to the right, I haven't sped things up as much in this particular chapter because it's quite difficult to see where you're going otherwise. So head to the right, and on the right hand side you'll notice the men's bathroom. If we head in here to grab the next collectible, then from here we are going to exit the bathroom and head to the left, and then turn immediately right when you get the opportunity to do so, and you'll see the room with all the fountains ahead of you. What you want to do is turn left before that room, so head down this corridor, and this is like the reception area. There's a desk here, so if we head to the right, behind this desk, you'll notice how short you are at this point because of the chairs and desk and everything kind of loom over you. But there's a collectible in the back corner behind that reception desk. That's half the ones for this particular chapter. Now if you carry on along the front of the desk, you'll notice more signposts on the wall, and we're going to be heading for administration, which is to the left, and it's the first room on the right as we're making our way down this corridor. Now I want to give credit to Rust199410, one of the other trophy YouTubers. I kind of used his solution for this puzzle. What we're going to do is we're going to press the middle button. That's going to move the central painting. It kind of swivels the paintings. And then we're going to throw an orb into the very top light, the very top yellow dot. Then we're going to press the left-hand button. And we're going to throw an orb into the light that's already blue, but it's like the third one down, starting from the top. Hopefully, if you're watching the video as well, this will all make sense. Now we need to press the right-hand button twice. You'll notice it spins these paintings around. And we're going to throw an orb into the light at the bottom on this particular painting that we just swiveled round. The one on the sort of solar light on its own on the bottom row. Now we can press the middle button 3 times. And like I say, I do want to give credit to Russ because he runs a very good channel as well, kind of similar to mine, just without the commentary. But I'm going to put a link to his channel in the description. I'm sure if you guys enjoy my channel, you'll find his useful as well. Anyway, once you've pressed that middle button 3 times, you can throw a light or throw an orb into the right-hand light on the second row down. I suggest just watching the video because it makes a lot more sense if you can see me doing it. And then you're going to throw one into the far right light. And that's finally going to light up every one of those yellow dots and turn them all blue. That was one I found really quite frustrating when I first played the game. It was quite an annoying one. But we're done, so thank you to Russ for that. Bit cheeky taking his solution, but once we've left that room, we can head to the right towards where these flashing red lights are again. And on the right hand side, before we reach the lights, is the library. Now this puzzle is exactly the same to the one we just solved, so we're literally going to just walk around all of these pressure pads in order in a circle. Nice and simple once you know how. As soon as you start standing on one and then stand on a different one that isn't in order, it kind of throws everything off and you have to try and salvage it. There might be a reset button somewhere. Most of the puzzles have a reset button. Getting tongue-tied as usual. Anyway, we can head up the stairs now, and we want to head down the main corridor on this second level. So if we turn around here, there's two sets of stairs. It doesn't matter which one you climb up, I don't think. But the main corridor here, you'll notice it kind of goes down in this direction. There is going to be another collectible on the right-hand side, just on the table here. Nice and easy to spot, just between these two kind of couches. And there's a bit of an edit here because the next bit I had to drop out, I had to take a break for a minute. But from here, we are going to carry on round, and you'll notice on our way round this area, there is a pressure pad on the floor that we're looking at right now. You want to remember where that is because we're going to be heading back to that in a moment, but you don't need to trigger it just yet. We're going to carry on round and then turn left as soon as we have the opportunity to do so. And in this area, on the left-hand side, is the women's ward. There you go, you can see the sign on the wall there. Now in the women's ward, there is going to be a collectible at the far end, so you kind of move around in a circle all the way around this room that branches around in a semicircle, kind of horseshoe shape. There's our next collectible, our next memento. And then if we make our way back, you'll have noticed probably these buttons on the floor as we made our way in. What you want to do is you want to stand the companion on the first one nearest the door, get him to trigger that. That's going to kind of open this panel up for us on the right and reveal that pillar and the glass. But we need to open the glass by walking over this pressure pad, and then standing on the second one is going to... Sorry, it's the other way around. The first button opens the glass, the second one raises the pillar. Now I missed it that time, so you do need to be pretty quick with this one. Because once you've walked over this one, this first button is going to close, it's going to drop the pillar down fairly quickly. So you need to throw it nice and sharpish. So I do recommend starting from the other side of the button so you can hold the run button, kind of run over it all in one smooth motion, and hold the L2 button before you even reach the second pressure pad so that you're ready to throw. It's not too difficult, it just takes a few tries, maybe a bit of practice to get the timing down. But that's going to open the door here, that's going to give us access to our next memento. Now we're going to leave the women's ward, and if you head literally directly opposite the door, on the far opposite side of this large area is a similar door that is the men's ward, which you probably would have guessed. There we go, men's ward sign on the wall there. Now there's a puzzle here that basically we're going to walk across this pressure pad, and that's going to send an electric spark, you'll notice it there. And then if we press this second button, just like a couple of seconds later, the sparks move at different speeds. So the idea is that you have both of them reach the circuit breaker, or whatever that is, at the same time. Now I got it on my first try just through luck really. But if you don't get it, then just kind of time it a bit better, just sort of figure out which one you need to sort of delay a bit more. But yes, simple enough. If we head into the room that just opened up, we can grab another memento. Saying that so many times, it's lost all meaning. Alrighty guys, so where are we going now? Let's try and remember. Yeah, if we leave this room, we're going to turn right, I think. Yep, there we go. And we've got the supervised observation room, I think it's called. Yeah, supervised observation. This is for, I guess, crazy people. In front of that creepy looking rocking chair, we've got our next memento. Then we're actually not far off finishing this chapter and not far off the end of the game. So if we leave this room and then head around to the right, which is going to take us towards the women's ward door again. And at this point, we can either go right or left. It doesn't really matter. This is one sort of big square we're going to be making our way all the way around the square until we get to the pressure pad on the floor in the main corridor that we sort of ignored earlier on. So we're heading round to the right. You'll notice it. There's a bit of a ski whiff armchair there. Not sure what's going on with that. But all the way round at the far opposite corner of this square is this pressure pad. So what we need to do here is, rather than standing on it ourselves, if you turn around, you'll notice this platform with a little ramp leading up to it. So if we stand on this platform and then send our companion to trigger this button, it's going to raise the platform up and we'll have access to a button on the top. So if you walk off onto this platform, you'll see this button here. This button opens the gate in front of us. And the idea is that we need to use our cursor, our L1 button, to send our companion through to stand on that button on the other side. But because the gate doesn't stay open for very long, it's only like a second or two, we need to press the button as he's reaching the gate. Now he actually got kind of stuck on the pressure pad here, so I had to use, I had to send him over to a different location just to get him off the pressure pad. So you'll notice here that I'm using the cursor again to send him through to this button, and then I'm quickly pressing the button at the top here, which is going to allow him to go through. And you can see how quickly the gate shuts, so you don't have very long. You need to kind of time it right. It's very easy. I think he pretty much waits at the gate. You know, if it's not open in time, then he will wait for you to open it, I think. And then once you have opened it, he'll step through. So there's nothing really trickier about that. Anyway, this is pretty much the ending. We've got like one more little puzzle to do to be able to get out of this hospital. So if we follow him, he's opened up that gate permanently for us now. I'm not sure why we couldn't have just hopped over that banister there, but there you go. If we get to the bottom of the stairs and turn around to the right, just on this gurney or bed or whatever it is, there is another collectible. That's our final one for this. Now this is a similar puzzle to the other one with the electricity. Now I tried it, this was just trial and error to kind of figure out how this one worked, but you'll notice that the one with the pillar, the one controlled by the pillar, is a lot slower. So what you need to do is throw an orb through the pillar. I had to move this guy out of the way first because he's bugging me, standing right in my face. But he was also triggering some of the pads, so you want to get him out of the way. Anyway, we're going to throw one of those orbs into the pillar and then walk across the other three. And those other three were still a bit quick, you'll notice. So I'm going to adjust things by basically allowing the orb to reach the pillar before I start walking. So you'll notice I throw it and it hits the pillar. Then I wait a split second and then just walk across these three nice and quickly. And they should all reach at roughly the same time. There we go. So just time it like I did, and it's, you know, simple enough. Now we have a corridor that can lead us to the room that we've been in a couple of times already. The room with the hospital bed on. Quite a sad story, really. If you guys are following it and actually paying attention, you'll realise it's quite a dark, sad tale, to be honest. But there we go, same room that we've been in a couple of times, or at least very similar. And once again, we're going to wait until we get control back and then turn around. You'll notice sun starts shining through. You'll notice a lot of light, and that's because we're shifting to the desert level, which is obviously very hot and bright. So we are going to leave the hospital, and this is going to start the final chapter in the game. So from the beginning, we're going to head around to the right-hand side to start with, and you'll see these bones sticking out of the ground, and the collectible is just at the base. There we are. Now if you make your way down this pathway, you'll notice a large kind of archway going across the middle of the area. And on the right-hand side of the arch, just at the base of this big blue pillar, between the pillar and the arch itself, is our second collectible, and they're all very close to each other in this level because it's a small level. It's a nice quick one. Anyway, if we turn around and go to the opposite side, you know, where the other side of the arch lands, the opposite side of the area here, just behind this rock, is our third one. And then if we carry on walking, walking, sorry. I'm developing a lisp, it sounds like. You'll see the monkey statue on the left, and then behind it is another monkey statue, and just in front of that one is the next collectible. That's 4 down and 8 to go. Now if you head back to the main path, you'll see a kind of puzzle there, but you don't need to worry about that. That's not actually a puzzle. We're going to turn to the left, carry on up through the centre of this area, and eventually you're going to sort of go up a slight slope, which is just here. And if you turn left at the top of the slope, you'll notice a cave, and this houses our 5th collectible. And it didn't seem to want to actually let me pick it up from this angle, so I had to kind of move back to the front of it, get the prompt to appear on screen. There we go. So if we carry on up through the pathway, turn to the left, you'll notice that platform with the blue kind of lightning type veins on it just to the right. But opposite that on the left hand side are these 2 trees that are kind of twisted together. And at the base of them, just between the 2 trees, is number 6. There we go. Now I had to edit there because I went the wrong way for a minute, but if we make our way back to the main path up through the centre by going around to the right here, and then carrying on up to the left, eventually we'll get to a bridge. So just ahead of us here is a long bridge that you'll notice, but before we cross the bridge, just on the left hand side, hidden away behind that tree, is our next memento. There we go. Now we're going to cross the bridge, and we will speed this up because this is a very long bridge. Anyway, on the other side, you'll probably notice the memento before I even mention it, but just to the right as you come off the bridge, it's right there. Very easy to spot. Like I said, they're very close together in this level. There we are. Now, we've got a puzzle here, and what we're going to need to do is press this button once. I think it's going to be the same for everybody, but if you press it once, the face of this kind of dice type structure is going to have 4 lights on the left hand side there, then 5 on this face, and then 6 on the next one, and then 2 on the final one. So just to reiterate that, it will have 4, from where we're facing, from where we enter, it would have 4, then 5, then 6, then 2. Now if you throw orbs into the 2 that I hit, it doesn't have to be set up like this, but this is just the easiest way because they're all kind of lined up nicely, so we can just literally throw 2 orbs into the 2 circles that I've thrown them at, and that's going to light up every light on the box. There we go. This is actually going to pop several trophies. I think there's 3 that pop here. They're all related to like finishing all the puzzles in this level maybe, and then finishing all the puzzles in the game, because that is our final puzzle, by the way. And that's going to open the way to the next part of the level, which is through this gate here. And there's actually another collectible just on the right as we exit through the gate. And we're going to be making our way towards a lighthouse, which you can probably see in the distance at this point, or you will be able to in a moment. If we carry on walking up this path though, eventually there'll be like a hedge or a big bush on the left hand side, and there'll be another collectible just past it. So it's just here, just around the corner. Now I'll turn around and just show you that it's like directly in front of that piece of text. So if you get to that text that sort of marks a split in the path and you haven't grabbed the collectible, then just turn around and you'll see it in front of you. But now we can walk up, and we're going to speed this up because it's a long walk. It doesn't matter if you take the right hand path or the left hand path at the message that we just passed. But eventually we'll get up to the lighthouse, and before we enter it, we need to walk around. You'll see the ramp there that leads up, or the slope that leads up to the lighthouse itself. If you walk past that, just in the back corner here, between these trees, is our, I think, second to last collectible. I believe there's just one more to grab, so we're very near the end now, guys. What we need to do here is climb this ramp and then enter the lighthouse by going around to the back. You can sort of circle it in a clockwise fashion. I was going to say anti-clockwise, but that would be completely wrong. And you'll get to these stairs that lead up into the lighthouse itself. And then we can climb up the spiral staircase. Now I do enter a room that I don't need to enter. I was just checking because I wasn't sure, I was forgetting where the final collectible was at this point, but you don't need to go into that room. We're just going to carry on up to the point where there is a door that exits to the outside of the lighthouse onto the kind of balcony area. So you'll see it just around the corner here. There you go. So the first door you come across that leads outside is going to take you to the final collectible. So that's actually going to pop, I think, the platinum. That's going to give us the final treasure hunt trophy for this chapter, and also the trophy for completing all of the mementos in the entire game, and that's going to pop the platinum. Now, some people say that they needed to finish the game to be able to pop all those trophies by climbing up the rest of the lighthouse, and we are basically at the end of the game here. But when I went through the door at the top of the lighthouse, the game crashed again, which it does for quite a lot of people, so hopefully by then you've already earned the platinum. If not, you can reload your save back up and just finish it off. But I decided not to carry on and finish the game because I've already seen the ending and I didn't really fancy loading it back up again just to walk through a door. But there you go guys, that's another platinum you can add to your collection. So as usual, I want to say a big thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I look forward to catching you in my next guide or in my next video, whichever one you happen to watch first. So thank you once again guys, have a great week, and I'll catch you very soon.